The chamber's great dome shimmered with faint auroras, the light bending to accommodate atmospheres from 100 worlds. Beneath that vast ceiling, the Galactic Council sat in its concentric tiers, an empire of eyes, scales, fur, and steel gazes. Chancellor Velshar's voice rolled out, every syllable carefully weighted. Effective immediately, he declared, all human-constructed FTL gates will be placed under Council stewardship for the stability of the galaxy. Captain Elena Voss rose before the murmurs could swell. She didn't ask for recognition. She claimed it. Her uniform was plain compared to the jeweled silks and armor of others, but her posture made it ceremonial enough. Chancellor, she said evenly, on Earth, we have a saying, you don't get to hold the leash if you've never tamed the wolf. Some delegates leaned forward. Others hissed softly. Velshar's expression didn't change, but his fingers tapped the dais. Hours earlier, the Resolute had glided into docking alignment with a council station. From her viewport, Elena had studied the habitat's spiraling arms, kilometers of alloy and crystal lattices, drifting in Elian's pale gold light. The place radiated power not through weaponry, but through architecture. Every corridor designed to remind visitors they were small. The docking protocol was smooth, but the reception was deliberate theater. The welcoming hall was too tall for human comfort, the ceiling a dizzying stretch of mirrored glass. Alien envoys clustered in small groups, their conversations falling silent as the human delegation entered. A six-legged Ulver in embroidered robes approached. Captain Voss, it said in Galactic Standard, welcome to the heart of civilized governance. Elena caught the faint edge beneath the politeness. Glad to see civilization still has a heartbeat, she replied, offering a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She spotted Velshar across the room, surrounded by aides. The Zari leader was tall, his crest of silver spines catching the light. When their gazes met, he crossed the floor with the measured grace of someone who assumed every space belonged to him. Captain, he said, inclining his head just enough to signal acknowledgement, not respect. I trust your journey was adequate? Smooth, Chancellor. No piracy, no blockades, refreshing change lately. His eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. Such disruptions are unfortunate. But stability requires discipline. And discipline, Elena said, requires trust. She let the pause linger until an aide signaled him away. By the time they reached the delegation quarters, the tension from the reception had sharpened into focus. The room's central table was already lit with tactical projections, maps of trade routes, blockade lines, and projected losses. Elena stood at the head. We're here for one purpose: preserve our control over FTL gates. That's non-negotiable. Dr. Malik, her chief science advisor, pushed up his glasses. If we refuse outright, they may vote for emergency enforcement measures. The Zari have the numbers. They have influence, Elena corrected. Numbers are only as strong as the loyalty behind them. Envoy Patel frowned. Our colonies are already feeling the sanctions. Supply convoys are delayed weeks. This stand may cost us. Elena's tone stayed calm. Cost now is better than chains later. She turned off the projections. We hold the line. Tomorrow's session will set the tone. Don't rise to provocation, but don't yield an inch. The first council session began with ceremonial flourishes that masked sharp agendas. Delegates took their places according to seniority. Humanity, despite its rapid technological rise, still sat near the outer tiers. Velshar opened with a polished attack. In a century, humanity has advanced faster than any recorded species. Impressive, yes, but destabilizing. Your refusal to share your gate technology disrupts trade, undermines unity, and creates dangerous power imbalances. Elena stood. We've honored every treaty we've signed. We've opened research to willing partners. But independence is not destabilization, it's diversity. She allowed a faint smile. Galactic history thrives on it, Chancellor. Or do we prefer the quiet of a stagnant pond? A low ripple moved through the chamber. Some alien faces registered amusement. Others bristled. Velshar pressed on. Without regulation, Your gates could be weaponized. Who ensures they aren't? Who ensures your fleets don't seize them once you have the access you're demanding? Elena countered. Security cuts both ways. The debate continued until the council chair announced adjournment. The vote on sanctions would come later. As delegates began dispersing, Velshar approached again, his voice pitched for her alone. You play well to the gallery, Captain, but you cannot win a game whose rules you don't write. I've rewritten rules before, she said, meeting his gaze. It's a human specialty. Back in the human quarters, the mood was taut. Malik reported whispers of another sanction package ready to pass. Patel suggested seeking compromise. No, Elena said, voice firm but not raised. They think we're isolated. Tomorrow, we show them we're not. Her calm console pinged, an encrypted message with no sender. She tapped the display. They will try to break you tonight. She looked up at her team. Rest. Tomorrow, we make history. That night, as station lights dimmed to mimic a planetary dusk, Elena stood by the viewport. The curve of Elion glowed far below, its storms shifting like pale gold silk. The Council's orbiting fortress might have been the galaxy's throne, but thrones could be toppled. She thought of Earth's long history, empires, revolutions, rebellions. Humanity had survived them all not by submission, but by adaptation. That was what Velshar and his allies didn't understand. Technology was only part of the power. The real strength was in the refusal to be owned. Tomorrow, she would remind them. The second morning aboard the council station began with an artificial sunrise, the dome panels shifting from indigo to silver. The change was meant to soothe, but the human delegation felt none of it. Captain Elena Voss entered the council chamber ahead of her team. She wanted to see it filling, to watch the small alliances form in the quiet moments before the gavel. Clusters of delegates leaned together, their translators humming softly. A few glanced her way, some curious, some wary. The Zari delegation sat near the chamber's heart, their seats elevated slightly above the others. Chancellor Velshar was already there, posture relaxed, eyes half-lidded, as if he owned the air itself. The gavel's strike echoed. Order, the chair intoned. We resume discussion on the matter of human-constructed FTL gates and their role in galactic stability. Velshar rose with smooth precision. Honored delegates, our galaxy thrives on cooperation. Yet the humans' unilateral control of a vital technology undermines that principle. We cannot permit a single species to wield such influence without oversight. I propose a binding treaty placing their gates under council authority. Elena waited until the murmurs settled. Oversight, Chancellor, is not the same as seizure. Humanity has shared technology before, openly, voluntarily. What you propose is neither. A delegate from the Avery Collective interjected, voice chittering through the translator. Your gates bypass trade hubs that have existed for millennia. Entire economies are threatened. Elena's tone stayed measured. Innovation has always changed economies. When humans developed faster than light sail ships, we didn't demand the builders of older craft surrender theirs. We adapted. Velshar's eyes glinted. You suggest adaptation while hoarding the means to force it. That is not adaptation. It is coercion. Then perhaps, Chancellor, Elena said, the question is who's coercing whom. The chair rapped the gavel again. The proposal will remain under deliberation. Sanctions, if approved, will be formalized within the week. As the chamber emptied, Elena moved to leave. She hadn't taken 3 steps before Velshar's shadow fell across her. Captain, he said, low enough that only she could hear, you mistake my patience for weakness. She met his gaze evenly. And you mistake my restraint for fear. He tilted his head slightly, the motion predatory. There are fragile worlds under your protection. Accidents happen, pirate raids, navigation errors, unfortunate malfunctions. All preventable if one is willing to be reasonable. That sounded like a threat. That sounded, Velshar replied, like a lesson in the cost of pride. Elena let the silence stretch, then stepped past him without another word. Back in the delegation's quarters, Dr. Malik and Envoy Patel were waiting. Malik had a datapad in hand, its display showing projected economic damage from the current sanctions, rising sharply if the proposed restrictions passed. They'll crush our colonies within a year if this escalates, Patel said. They'll try, Elena replied. But they won't do it in the open. Too many smaller factions already distrust the Tsari. Malik hesitated. We may have an opportunity there. I've been approached by a representative of the Varn Alliance, named Zyrith. They're fractured politically, but they're united in fear of Tsari expansion. He wants to speak privately. Patel frowned. The Varner merchants. They'll want something in return. Elena nodded. Schedule the meeting. Irith arrived that evening. The Varn were tall, scaled, with a slow, deliberate way of moving that made every gesture seem deliberate. He accepted the human offer of water, but didn't drink. I will speak plainly, Irith said. The Chancellor believes humans are a threat because you cannot be controlled. That is why we might be friends. Elena leaned forward. And what would that friendship cost us? Exclusive rights to purchase your fusion cores for the next decade. Patel's brow furrowed. That would give you a monopoly on our most valuable export. Yes, Irith agreed, without apology. In return, my delegation will vote against any seizure of your gates. Others will follow our lead. The motion will fail. Elena considered him for a long moment. If I take your offer, I trade one form of control for another. Not control, Irith corrected. Mutual dependence. It is safer than what the Chancellor offers. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood, pacing to the viewport. I'll think on it, she said. But I don't make bargains under threats. Then I hope, Irith said, rising to leave, you make them before threats become reality. That night, as Elena was reviewing the next day's session agenda, the station's internal alert system pulsed once, subtle, easily missed. Seconds later, Malik's voice came through her comm. Captain, we've just lost the Arden, one of our supply shuttles. Explosion in Docking Bay 14. She was already moving before he finished. The bay was sealed, emergency drones swarming over debris. A ring of alien security personnel kept the crowd at a distance. A station officer stepped forward. Preliminary analysis suggests a containment failure. Elena's eyes scanned the wreckage. Too clean, too localized. Not the chaotic spread of an actual failure. This was surgical. You'll understand if I don't accept your preliminary analysis. The officer's tone hardened. Human negligence has endangered lives here today, Captain. The Council will expect answers. She didn't flinch. They'll get them. From the right source. Back in the quarters, Patel slammed his palm against the table. This is exactly what they needed. A reason to call us reckless, dangerous. They'll try to spin it, Elena agreed. But not without pushback. Malik's expression was grim. The Council Security Office will open an investigation. Guess who controls that office? Velshar, Elena said. Which means the verdict's already written. She looked at each member of her team in turn. They want us rattled. They want us to start making mistakes. That's not happening. Later, alone in her room, Elena replayed the day's exchanges in her mind. Velshar's thinly veiled threat. Irith's calculated offer. The shuttle's destruction. Each piece was part of a pattern tightening around humanity's place in the galaxy. Tomorrow, the Council would press harder. And tomorrow, she would be ready to press back harder still. She shut off the lights, the station's artificial night settling over her quarters. In the darkness, she could still see Velshar's eyes, cold, certain, and already planning his next move. She smiled faintly. So was she. The station's artificial dawn was muted, as if even the light knew trouble had settled in overnight. The destruction of the Arden still lingered in every corridor. News feeds played the same footage on endless loops, twisted hull plating, drifting debris, and a single caption in bold script, "Human negligence kills 3." When Elena Voss entered the council chamber, conversation stopped for a fraction of a second. Long enough for her to feel the shift. Delegates who had been neutral yesterday now watched her with the cautious interest one might give a dangerous animal. The chair called the session to order. Velshar rose, voice smooth but sharpened. Yesterday's tragedy in Docking Bay 14 was preventable. A single faulty human containment module, left uninspected, has endangered this station and its inhabitants. In light of this, I propose an immediate security mandate: the transfer of all human-operated FTL gates to Council oversight, effective at once. He let the words hang, the calculated pause of a predator certain of the kill. Elena stood. The investigation isn't complete. Any vote before the facts are known is politics, not security. A delegate from the Kryn consortium hissed. The facts are obvious, Captain. Humans pushed too fast, cut too many corners. This was bound to happen. Her reply was level. Bound to happen or made to happen? A murmur rippled across the chamber. Velshar tilted his head, feigning curiosity. Are you accusing someone here of sabotage? I'm stating, Elena said, that no serious inquiry concludes before it's begun. Unless, of course, the outcome was written before the question was asked. The chair rapped the gavel. We will recess for 1 hour before a preliminary vote. In the human quarters, Patel's face was pale. 1 hour isn't enough to change minds. They'll steamroll this through. Malik spoke more carefully. Unless we do something to disrupt the momentum, create uncertainty. Elena moved to the table, activating the projection of the bay's security feeds. The explosion's data spike was too clean. No gradual buildup, no erratic containment readings. A perfect, sudden breach. Too perfect, she murmured. If this was an accident, I'm an Alver court chef. Patel leaned in. Proving sabotage implicates someone. That might fracture their vote. Elena's jaw tightened. Which is exactly what we need. She tapped the feed, isolating a figure near the bay doors minutes before the blast, tall, cloaked, walking with deliberate ease. The station's face recognition flagged no match. That's not enough, Malik warned. It doesn't have to be proof, Elena said. It just has to be doubt. The chamber was fuller after recess, the air heavier. Delegates who had been absent earlier now filled their seats. Velshar wore the faintest trace of a smile. Before the chair could open the floor, Elena stepped forward. Before this vote proceeds, I ask the council to review footage from Docking Bay 14. A few delegates shifted, annoyed. Velshar's gaze sharpened, but he didn't object. The feed played quiet scenes of dockworkers, drones moving cargo, the cloaked figure entering. The blast followed, abrupt and surgical. Elena froze the image mid-stride. This individual, she said, is not human. No match in our databases, nor in the station's registry. Yet they were present minutes before the explosion. The Avery delegate clicked in agitation. Circumstantial. Perhaps, Elena said. But before we hand over sovereign technology, should we at least ask why this person vanished from the station immediately afterward? Small clusters of delegates began whispering. Irith of the Varn sat back, watching Velshar with visible interest. The Chancellor's voice was cool. Captain Voss would have us believe this was an elaborate act of sabotage designed to, what? Frame humanity. Frame, intimidate, discredit, take your pick, Elena replied. But if you pass this mandate now, you'll prove you're willing to legislate based on accusations without evidence. And if that's the precedent, which of you will be next? The ripple of whispers grew louder. The chair rapped the gavel. We will delay the vote until the security office completes a full inquiry. Velshar didn't look at her as the session closed, but his crest's spine shifted in a way she'd come to recognize, not anger, but recalculation. Back in the quarters, Patel exhaled. You bought us time. Time's not enough, Elena said. We need leverage. Malik hesitated, then spoke. Irith asked again for a meeting. He said he has information. The Varn envoy arrived within the hour, his scaled face unreadable. He set a small case on the table, opening it to reveal a data chip. This, Irith said, contains internal Zari communications. Proof that the sanctions and the proposed seizure were planned long before any so-called incident. Patel's eyes narrowed. Why give this to us? Because the Chancellor believes the galaxy belongs to him, Irith said simply. And because every empire overreaches eventually. I prefer to be on the side that survives the fall. Elena studied him. And in exchange? The trade agreement we discussed. She didn't answer immediately. If I take this, I'll use it my way. No guarantees of protection for you. I expect none, Iris said. Only results. After he left, Elena turned the chip in her hand. Proof could end this if used right. But once revealed, it would draw lines that couldn't be erased. Malik broke the silence. If we go public with this, we can kill the mandate. Patel shook his head. Or we could start a war. Elena set the chip down, her decision already taking shape. Sometimes, she said quietly, those are the same thing. She glanced out at the station's endless corridors, each one a web of alliances and traps. The glass was already cracking. All she had to do now was decide where to strike. The council chamber felt colder than usual. A dozen flags, woven in fabrics from across the galaxy, hung along the high dome, swaying gently in the station's air currents. Each represented a power with its own agenda. Elena Voss entered knowing most of them would gladly see humanity chained to council oversight by the day's end. She walked straight to her station without glancing at Velshar. His stillness was deliberate, as if denying her the satisfaction of recognition. Around him, his allies spoke in low, satisfied murmurs. The chair opened the session. Today's agenda concerns the proposed transfer of human-controlled FTL infrastructure to council oversight. Chancellor Velshar has requested the first address. Velshar rose with practiced gravitas. We stand at a crossroads. Yesterday's events, compounded by a record of reckless innovation, prove that human autonomy is a liability. Oversight is not punishment, it is protection. His voice was smooth enough to coat steel. A few delegates nodded. Others kept their eyes fixed on Elena. When the chair turned to her, she did not stand immediately. She let the silence grow until the faint rustle of robes and the clicking of alien talons against marble were the only sounds. Then she rose. Chancellor Velshar is correct, she said. We are at a crossroads. But the danger here isn't human recklessness. It's something far older. Something everyone in this chamber has seen before, even if they've chosen to forget. She activated her console. A holographic projection filled the chamber. Encrypted communications, their Zari signatures unmistakable. Dates stamped weeks before the Arden incident. The headers were blunt: sanctions timetable, media strategy, seizure of Terran gates. Gasps rippled through the chamber. The text scrolled slowly, revealing each careful plan to isolate, discredit, and strip humanity of strategic assets. This, Elena said, isn't protection. It's a coup. Velshar's crest flattened, but his voice stayed calm. Manufactured evidence. The humans fabricate crises to justify their defiance. She didn't flinch. Then verify it. Your own cryptography office can confirm the origin of every byte. I've already forwarded it to them. The murmurs rose to a hum, and for the first time in days, it wasn't her name they whispered, it was his. The Ulver representative, a silver-eyed elder named Kaith, leaned forward. Chancellor, these plans, they predate any safety review of the Arden. Velshar's gaze hardened. The security of the galaxy requires foresight. Kaith's reply was soft but cutting. Foresight or premeditation? Elena pressed. How many of you believe the sanctions were a measured response? How many thought this mandate arose from the Arden incident? Now you know the truth. This was never about stability, it was about control. She let the words settle before adding, and if humanity can be targeted this way, so can any of you. The Varn delegate, Irith, spoke next. My people have long memories. This council has seen such tactics before, always ending in ruin. Perhaps it is time to table this mandate until the Chancellor's conduct can be reviewed. The proposal found immediate traction. Delegates who had been silent began murmuring to their aides. A few shifted openly away from Velshar's bench. Velshar struck. You think this human captain acts in good faith? She has traded favors with those who would weaken the Council's unity. Elena met his eyes. If unity means bowing to threats and lies, then perhaps it's time unity was tested. The chair rapped the gavel to contain the noise, but the momentum had shifted. Several delegates demanded an independent ethics review before any vote on the FTL transfer. During the recess, Malik caught up with her in the corridor. He's cornered. You can see it in his eyes. Cornered predators are the most dangerous kind, Elena replied. He won't back down, he'll look for another angle. Patel joined them, datapad in hand. Zari media channels are already calling the leak human disinformation. It's moving fast. That was expected, Elena said. Our job isn't to convince his followers, it's to give the fence-sitters a reason not to trust him. Back in session, the chamber was tense, but unbalanced now, like a table with one leg sawn half through. The chair addressed the assembly. Given the new material evidence, the vote on the FTL mandate will be postponed pending inquiry. Velshar's jaw shifted in a subtle display of fury. His voice was smooth when he spoke, but his words were edged. So be it. Let the inquiry proceed. And when it reveals the extent of human deceit, I trust this council will remember today's performance. Elena didn't smile. And when it reveals the truth, Chancellor, I trust the council will remember yours. The gavel fell. Session adjourned. Outside the chamber, Irith intercepted her. Well played. But you've made an enemy who will not forget. I didn't come here to make friends, Elena said. Good, Irith replied, handing her a small encrypted fob. Because you'll need more than friends before this is over. In the human quarters that night, the quiet felt heavier than any crowd. Elena stood at the viewport, watching the slow drift of station traffic. Patel spoke from behind her. You know he's not done. He'll find another way to push the mandate. I'm counting on it, she said. The more he pushes, the more obvious his game becomes. But we'll need to be ready when he changes tactics. Malik looked from her to the fob in her hand. What's that? Insurance, she said. And maybe the key to ending this before it gets worse. She turned back to the stars, already thinking several moves ahead. The council thought today was a battle. They hadn't realized yet it was only the opening fine. The station's night cycle had barely begun when the summons arrived. Emergency council session, mandatory attendance. Elena knew before she read the details that Velshar was making his final move. Malik paced their quarters. This is it. He's either going to bury the inquiry or burn the chamber down. Then we don't give him the fire he wants, Elena said, slipping the encrypted fob into her jacket. Patel frowned. What's on that thing? Proof, she answered. Not just of his plot, of what happens if the council hands over human FTL. And it's not hypothetical. The council chamber was packed beyond capacity. Hollow feeds flickered overhead, broadcasting the proceedings to every inhabited system. Delegates shifted in their seats, sensing blood in the water, but unsure whose. Velshar stood before the assembly, like a man claiming victory before the game was played. Esteemed members, he began, voice warm and deliberate, events have unfolded rapidly. It is clear that human operations have become a destabilizing factor, risking trade, security, and the delicate balance we have all worked to maintain. He gestured, and a hollow map flared to life, a series of trade lanes with red markers. These incidents, he said, all tied to Terran FTL activity, show a pattern of negligence, if not malice. The murmurs grew. Elena recognized falsified reports when she saw them. Half of those incidents had been resolved years ago. Velshar pressed on. The inquiry will take cycles. In the meantime, we cannot allow a power so erratic to hold the galaxy's arteries in its hands. I move for an immediate provisional transfer of human FTL gates to Council supervision. Elena rose slowly, aware that every lens was on her. Before you vote, she said, you deserve to see the full picture. She keyed the fob into her console. The chamber dimmed as a recording filled the air, a secure meeting in a Zari command room. Velshar's voice, unmistakable, directing subordinates to stage disruptions along Terran trade lanes, leak false reports to media channels, and frame the incidents as human aggression. Gasps broke the stillness. Delegates turned toward Velshar, whose calm mask cracked just enough to show the pressure beneath. This is spliced fabrication, he snapped. Manufactured to discredit. Elena cut him off. Time-stamped. Triple verified by 3 independent cryptography labs. One of them your own. You called us reckless. You called us dangerous. The danger was you, Chancellor. You lit fires just to sell yourself as the one holding the water. Keitha's voice rang out from the Alver bench. Chancellor, is it also fabricated that you sought private control over Terran Gate protocols once the transfer was secured? Silence. Velshar's talons flexed against the podium. Irith stood next. The Varn will not support this mandate, nor any resolution introduced by this Chancellor until this Council completes a full review of his actions. One by one, delegations aligned themselves away from Velshar. Some were cautious, others openly hostile. The momentum of the chamber shifted like a tide pulling back from a drowning man. Velshar's voice hardened. You think the humans will spare you when their ambition grows? You think today's performance makes them safe? Elena stepped forward. We never claimed to be safe. We claimed to be free. And here's what you've failed to understand, Chancellor. We don't bargain with those who come for us with knives in the dark. You wanted our gates? You'll get nothing. Not today. Not ever. The words echoed, amplified by the recording feeds. Somewhere deep in the chamber, applause broke, muted at first, then spreading. The chair brought down the gavel. The provisional transfer motion is struck. The inquiry into Chancellor Velshar's conduct will proceed at once. Until its conclusion, the Zari delegation is suspended from introducing any new resolutions concerning Terran assets. It was a sentence in all but name. Velshar's eyes locked on Elena's as the chamber adjourned. This isn't finished, he said low enough for only her to hear. No, she replied. But you are. Outside, Malik exhaled hard. You just declared open defiance in front of half the galaxy. Good, Elena said. Now they know where we stand. Patel's datapad pinged. Terran channels are lighting up. Public opinion's swinging in our favor. Colony's allies, they're all rallying. Elena allowed herself a small nod. Then we hold the line. They'll come at us again, maybe harder next time. But every time they do, it gets clearer, humanity doesn't bend. Later, alone in her quarters, she stood before the viewport. The station's traffic moved in slow arcs against the stars, each vessel a reminder of the gates humanity had built, not for conquest, but for connection. Velshar had tried to twist that into a chain. He'd failed. The comm chimed. A secure line. Iritha's voice came through. Captain Voss. There will be others like him. You've made them wary. That's the first step. The next is making them afraid. She considered that for a long moment. We'll cross that bridge when we build it. As the transmission ended, Elena leaned against the cool glass. The galaxy was watching now, measuring humanity not by the size of its fleets, but by the steel in its will. And that, she thought, was exactly